We'll continue our studies on cell growth and aging. Before knowing the growth of a multicellular organism, let's know what is multicellular organism. As the name itself suggests that multi means many. So multicellular organisms are comprised or they contain more number of cells. As I said earlier, the unicellular microorganism or the unicellular organism contains only single cell throughout its lifespan, but multicellular organism, they're comprised of more than one or million cells in their organism. Okay, thus the cellular differentiation, maturation, as well as the growth that takes place in the multicellular organism is more complex when compared to that of a unicellular organism. More complex in the sense that it is very complicated when compared to that of a unicellular organism. And how does the growth in a multicellular organism takes place? It takes place like the process what all are involved in the multicellular organism growth is cell division, cell enlargement and cell differentiation. We'll be studying about this in the further slides. So as I said earlier, growth in a multicellular organism takes place by one of the process, that is a cell division. Cell division, this is the basic process of the growth, and mitotic division that takes place almost in all the somatic cells, where there will be a formation of number of cells, where there will be a increase in number of cells in a body. So how does this takes place? See, here you can see that the cell proliferates. Here you can see the cell, here single cell. This proliferates or multiplies to form a number of cells. Here you can see the number of cells are formed when there is a unicellular cell, where this cell gets fertilized and then the fertilized cell forms a number of cells, many number of cells, and as a result they undergo a specialized formation where they form a specialized cells, and further they can also fold to form a tissue or an organ. Finally, like this, the growth of an multicellular organism takes place. Okay, and the body grows and the cells in your body produce a new cell through a cellular division. This is how the division takes place. So before the growth of a multicellular organism, what all things takes place? Here you can see that a chromosome present inside the nucleus of a cell. This is a cell and this is a nucleus which contains a chromosome, and each one of the chromosomes are formed by one molecule of DNA where they are condensed or shrink together to form a chromosome, and each chromosome they undergo a division when they get ready to divide. So when they get ready to divide, the DNA copies itself. The two DNAs are formed. Okay, and two DNAs are formed and they condense to form a chromosome. See, here you can see that, and here is a chromosome. When they get ready to divide, the DNA replicates are formed. Two DNA strands are formed, and these two DNA shrink or they come together or they condense to form a chromosomes. This is how what happens actually when there is a division. Here you can see that after the chromosomal division, here you can see the maternal chromosome and as well as the paternal chromosome. All of those combined together, 22 chromosomes are present along with the X and Y chromosome in a human body. And here you can see that the nucleus of a dividing cell containing a chromosome, this is of a female cut out of arranged into pairs, that is the chromosomes, and this is a nucleus from a male cut out, and they are arranged in a pairs. We know that always the chromosomes are arranged in pairs. And here you can see that the growth in a multicellular organism means a cell division takes place only when an organism grows and organism become damaged
when there is a requirement of the cells, only that time the cell division takes place. It is essential or it is required that new cell which is produced, they always contain a genetic information. Okay, a new cells are formed from the existing cells. So all these processes are carried out by a cell cycle. What happens in a cell cycle? The first stage is a cell growth, and an exact copy of the DNA are being formed, and thereby forms the pair of chromosomes. Okay, the first stage, it's a cell growth, and then the replication of the DNA which makes up the chromosome products exactly of that of a previous chromosomes. And all the organelles inside the cells, they are also copied along with the chromosomes. And this process of the stage of the cell is called as a interphase. All these things takes place in the interphase. And coming on to the mitosis, mitosis takes place, which is a cell division takes place, where the cell divides and the chromosome copies are separated. The nucleus, here you can see that the nucleus also divides and the cell divides. This produces two cells called as daughter cells, and each of the daughter cells is genetically identical to the parent cells, and the daughter cells are genetically identical to the parent cell, and the organism has more cells and have grown much. Okay, this is about the growth in a multicellular organisms. And before they can divide during mitosis, the cells must go and duplicate the internal structure. Okay, and then which all takes place in the interphase. We'll study about that in the latest. So during the interphase, all the internal structures have to be duplicated before they enter into the mitotic phase. This is what takes place in the interphase, and interphase involves the three stages, that is the G1 phase, S phase and a G2 phase. In a G1 phase, this is the first phase or a gap phase where the changes can be very little, which cannot be clearly seen in the microscope. So whatever the changes that takes place is the increase in the biochemical activity. So the cell accumulates what all are required for the process of DNA synthesis. The chromosomal DNA, associated protein, and everything is accumulated in the G1 phase. And this is called as a gap phase, because there won't be any other things, only the accumulation takes place for the further process, that is to enter into the synthesis phase, which is called as a DNA synthesis phase. In a DNA synthesis phase, the DNA duplication takes place. Okay, the duplication of the DNA takes place, and it enters into the next phase called as a G2 phase. So G2 phase, and here one more thing, in the S phase, the sister chromatids, and they get firmly attached to the centromere region. You know the centromere region of the chromosome, there the sister chromatids that gets firmly attached to the centromeric region. And some cell organelles, they also get duplicated when they enter into the G2 phase. When the cells, they enter into the G2 phase, there are certain cell organelles, they get duplicated, and the cytoskeleton, it provides a source for the mitotic phase. Here you can see that after G2 phase, they enter to the mitotic phase, and here you can see there will be a nucleus division as well as the cytoplasmic division, cytokinesis, and that is called as a formation of two daughter cells. This is the activity of the interphase, where there is a growth of the cell takes place before it enters into the mitotic phase.